to inform you that yesterday I was handed a rather embarrassing set of defeats on the game Mortal Kombat XL. I went round to Jim's house and we played on Xbox, and I lost almost all the games very badly. It turns out I have an incredible kind of vulnerability to low-level weak punches to the sort of the lower leg area, like the knee, obviously. So I think I was asked, could I give some opinions on sort of more expensive pedals. This isn't some sort of weird flex video, but I happen to have an Origin Effects Revival Drive Hot Rod Edition, which was given to me because I filmed some of the initial videos that were used, I think they were used anyway, in their promotional stuff for it. And I have a Van Wielden Royal Overdrive, which I got in a trade. Not in a trade, but I got it alongside the Carrier Tone amp that you occasionally saw on the channel. These are two pretty expensive pedals. I think at the current prices the Royal Overdrive is about 550, and I think probably the Revival Drive is around about that as well, maybe a bit less. On the face of it, I guess a drive pedal is a drive pedal, and you do see some of these boutique sellers and stuff selling what are essentially kind of tube screamer circuits, or you know, that sort of thing, for, you know, around £200 to £300. And to me that seems like you're paying a premium potentially for the name of the builder, or the perceived kind of value there, you know, when there are kind of cheaper tube screamers that are also really good. You know, the Ibanez TS Mini, for instance, is really great. Even the Behringer Tube Overdrive as a tube screamer is pretty decent. However, these pedals do something a little bit different, and so I guess this isn't a video saying you should buy any of these. I use them occasionally. They're really kind of sort of nice to haves, rather than something you might need to have, if you know what I mean. And I guess it's the sort of pedals that you'd want to see someone do quite a few videos with before you could really rely on them to recommend it. I think that's part of the problem with these sorts of pedals, is that generally they'll give, or you know, solicit demos from the kind of bigger pedal channels and stuff, and really they'll only do one video with them. And so is there any evidence that anyone uses these pedals on a long-term basis? That's kind of one of the things that I would look for. And given that that doesn't seem to be the case, there's no sort of regular kind of output with these pedals. I think that's one of the slight issues which you have, which is why maybe, you know, some of the more well-known pedal companies have less of that issue, because they have more of a marketing push, and the cheaper pedals in general, so you get more people that are putting out demos that aren't professional or whatever, and so there's more of a hype building around them, I guess. Anyway, that stuff aside, what are these pedals then? The Royal Overdrive, I guess, is basically a Dumble style overdrive. We've got master presence, bass, middle, treble and gain, and a mid boost with a switchable gain boost. And the other kind of thing you've got going on is these mode switches at the top, which basically tailor it to whichever amplifier you're going into. So you've got a mode A and a mode B, and then a bright switch with 3 positions. So quite a lot of adjustability there, and there's obviously a manual which can describe exactly what's going on with that. The one sort of thing to bear in mind is this is quite a big pedal. And then the other thing to bear in mind is that to power it, I'm using the Strymon Zoomer. I'm powering it in 18 volt mode, but if you were powering it in 9 volt mode, I think you'd need kind of around 600-ish milliamps, which not necessarily all power supplies can kick out, so it's something to bear in mind. But, so what does it actually sound like? I'm going through the Iridium at the moment. So that's the clean setting, although I've got my tone all the way off. And then we'll kick it in. So that's with the gain at about halfway. If I crank the gain a bit more. So basically it's got that kind of dumble lead tone, also similar to a J-Rocket Dude. If you were going for this kind of tone on a budget, I have compared them side by side before, and the Dude does come up favourably, although it's not quite as tweakable. So kick in the mid boost. So feel wise, it's got a really nice chewy kind of feel. You've got presence control, which does that all the way down. So what it ends up being is basically, I guess, who this pedal might be for. Maybe you've got a single channel clean amp, you know, maybe like the Cali Tweed or something like that, and you wanted effectively like an amp type overdrive, and you really kind of only use one, and maybe you want one pedal to do that job. The Royal Overdrive might be that. Or maybe you were doing some touring type stuff and you needed something that could kind of work with most kind of backlines. The mode switches and the bright switches, I guess, would be what might make this kind of a viable choice over something that's potentially less flexible. It's got loads of headroom and potential to boost. I'm not going to be the kind of person that's going to say 100% this pedal's for you, or the best drive pedal I've ever played, or anything quite like that, but it's kind of pretty versatile in terms of if you wanted that sound going into other amps, then you've got quite a lot of versatility and quite a lot of tweakability in terms of making your clean channel have a nice smooth dumble-ish drive channel to go alongside it. Not a crazy amount of gain, but sort of enough for thing for kind of blues and probably stacks well. Let's see, I don't know. So stacks quite well. Could get noisy with that amount of gain, but so for blues or, you know, fusiony stuff, you know, probably most kind of pop gigs, I think you could get away with this pedal. So that's the Royal Overdrive. If you've got things you want me to try with it, drop some comments below and I can try and do some demos with it. In terms of, you know, is this 100% the pedal that will work for you and your rig? Not necessarily. If you're going for that kind of dumble sound and want to be able to switch between kind of many amps, maybe the Royal Overdrive might be something that you wanted to check out. I think it sounds really good and also feels really good under the fingers. It's kind of got that chewy tube screamer thing going on, but with quite a lot more tweakability that you'd have with a tube screamer. Now that we're talking about tweakability and stuff, the Revival Drive. I had the Revival Drive Compact, and one of the things that I kind of said about it was, although I really like the pedal, it doesn't really have enough gain for it to be kind of that pedal that really could bring your Iridium or other modelling device to life, or, you know, if you were using it in front of a clean device, the Revival Drive didn't quite have enough gain in it to take you into some of the territories that I like to explore, or you know, I guess other people explore. Hence the Hot Rod Edition was conceived. Like the Revival Drive, there's quite a lot of tweakability with it. You know, you've got high cuts, bright caps, mid boosts, negative feedback, all sorts of stuff to experiment with. I'd suggest starting from the manual kind of quick start guide, which gives you some sort of ballpark tones to work with. So on here I've got it set up with roughly the Mesa Boogie kind of settings and also the Trainwreck settings, so Liverpool. So this is the Trainwreck stuff. So that's the Trainwrecky thing, and then this is the Mesa Boogie. And you've got kind of quite a lot more gain available too. So plenty of gain if the Hot Rod, if the original kind of Revival Drive didn't quite get there for you. So this is the other side. I'll just turn the output down and boost the volume. I kind of really like the sounds of it. Again though, it's kind of not as bulky as the Van Wielden, but, you know, bulkier than your average pedal. However, I think this has a bit more versatility than the Van Wielden. You've got 2 channels and also then a mid boost which you could switch if you buy the additional pedal for it. Not only that, but you've also got, as I said, you've got a high shelf, you've got a bright cap control, you've got bright caps on each channel which you can experiment with, and you've got this blend knob which I guess, just do it on this boogie setting, can bring in the dry signal. So you could do that kind of dumbly thing. So again, loads of versatility with it, and as I said with the first Van Wielden stuff, if there's specific demos and things you want to hear me try with the Hot Rod Edition Revival Drive, do leave some comments below, and I can try and do some stuff with it. I've got a clip just playing through both of them, which I'll chuck on the end here. What is the real difference between these pedals and sort of pedals that are maybe like £100 or so cheaper, but still effectively expensive? These tend to have kind of a bit more tweakability, so you know, a presence knob, bright cap controls, that sort of thing. I think what might make the difference between these and a cheaper pedal. So I'm not necessarily talking about things that are essentially kind of rebadged other pedals, more so kind of things like maybe your dualists or that sort of thing, where although they've got, you know, a few extra EQ options on them compared to a traditional tube screamer, they don't have all this control of like bright caps and high cuts and low cuts and that sort of thing, which I think is what maybe makes these things kind of a little bit more versatile and potentially a little bit more tour or, you know, that sort of thing ready.